Hey everyone, welcome to my weekend special. I hope you enjoy the show. Hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you never miss my show, whether it's Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday. Here's our first guest. Okay, question. You said something, there's so much depth to you. Earlier you said, I'm not training against the dude necessarily that I'm fighting next. I'm not even training against the dude that I spar with. I think so many people that want to be high achievers compare themselves to the person in the cubicle next to them or in their current office, or in the local area, as opposed to the standard, the best possible standard. So could you just speak to that a minute about training to a standard compared to just the opponent or just the sparring partner or just what's in the gym that day? Because that holds us back as well. True?
True. Yeah. And I think for me, they're always asking me about my opponent. My opponent, he's this tall, he's got these attributes, he's got these accolades, and without sounding cocky, like I'm looking past the opponent, truthfully, I can tell you this with 100% certainty that I don't need to train to beat that opponent. I just need to be the best version of myself that night inside the octagon. I need to be the Michael Chandler with zero hindrances, zero second guessing, zero fears, and only faith and excitement about becoming my best self. If I can get done with that fight, get my hand raised, and have zero regrets about my performance, knowing that I performed at the highest level that I possibly could that night, then there's not a man on this planet that can beat me. And I truly believe that. So my prayer before the fight isn't God give me the victory or God let my opponent stumble. My prayer is, God, just let me perform like I trained. Let me perform in a manner that is consistent with the way that you see me, God, and that is consistent with my gifts and my abilities that you blessed me with. Because I truly believe that in that moment, if I'm inside that octagon and that cage door closes, if I perform at my best, I'm not going to lose. And this isn't kind of the hoorah, well, you gave it your best, so you really didn't lose, even if you did lose.
Yeah.
This, like they say, well, if you gave it your best, you didn't lose. That's true in a lot of senses, but also I'm more just saying that if I can go out there and get in that flow state, there's nobody that can beat me. And I truly believe that. So how do you make sure that you perform that way? Well, you can't ever make sure with 100% certainty. We're going to have bad days. We're going to have off nights. We're going to have bad performances no matter what. But number one, never being afraid of having a bad performance. Number two, being okay with the uncertainty that's about to ensue. I mean, you can't really think of a career more volatile than mixed martial arts. Being inside of a cage, locked inside of a cage, being tied onto a tornado, you have to be okay with the uncertainty that's about to happen. And for me, I always say, win, lose, or draw, I'm going to be okay because my God still loves me, my family still loves me, and I still love me. And the hardest thing was I always knew my God loved me. I always knew my family loved me. But that hardest part was, and I still love me. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you have to be okay with the uncertainty that's about to happen.
Yeah, you talk about every area of life being willing to embrace uncertainty and run towards it. On the other side of uncertainty is everything you want. Best relationship you've ever had, there's no certainty to it, right?
Yeah.
There's no certainty to that at all. Any great victory, anything you've ever done, you have to go through the uncertainty barrier. Everyone's saying your comfort zone. Forget all that comfort zone. You got to go through complete uncertainty. The other thing too, for me, I don't know if you relate to this or not, I'm just curious. That I love me, third one's my issue too. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten a lot better at that over the years. And one of the reasons I don't mean overly hokey, here I am with one of the toughest men in the world, but one of the reasons that I would not give myself love or affirmation or permission to like myself, even if I'm being completely candid, like actually like myself, so everybody knows, is to me, I had to be perfect. And if I wasn't perfect, I wasn't worthy of really liking or loving myself. And perfect is a cop-out standard. Perfect is impossible. But I've kind of heard you talk about this a little bit too. This notion of the perfect fight or the perfect sparring session or the perfect husband, right? The perfect man of faith. Well, you're going to miss that one every time. So if that's your standard, you have wired yourself for misery. And then it stumbles into, at least for me, kind of this cycle of lack of confidence because I'm not hitting the promise I made myself, which was perfection, because self-confidence is keeping the promises you make to yourself. So I'm just curious how that plays with you.
100%. And that's, I think especially whenever and not to get overly spiritual about it, but when you truly believe that God, Rick Warren's purpose-driven life. That's what everybody wants, right? How do I find my purpose? Whenever you feel like you found your purpose, and I truly believe that mixed martial arts, being put on a platform through mixed martial arts, is my purpose. So I found my purpose. So it's God ordained. So if it's God ordained, then okay, I got to be perfect, right? Because this is the gift that I'm trying to give God, and God deserves. We all know God deserves a perfect gift, when really He's looking down on us saying, you are all flawed individuals. I made you perfect in the image of myself, but you are made perfect through the sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross, right? So we are striving for perfection, and that's really, truthfully, if I'm being honest, why my first loss happened. So
really,
I go out and yes, and I beat Eddie Alvarez. I become the number 3 guy in the entire world. Everybody's saying Michael Chandler's the next big thing. So immediately, okay, I'm the number 3 guy in the world. Everybody wants me to go win the UFC title when I'm done with my Bellator contract. Media is talking about me award after award. You know, this guy's the next big thing. So what do I say in my human brain? Okay, now I got to be perfect, right? Before I was just shooting off the cuff. I was working hard. I was doing things right. I was living the champion lifestyle. But now that I am the champion, now I got to be perfect. So what did I do? Instead of taking my training to the next level, it went down in the dumps, because just as you said, every sparring session was another opportunity to be imperfect. You know, I could win 4 minutes and 58 seconds of a round, but it was that 2 seconds that I lost that told me in my mind I lost that round. I could have hit a guy 1,000 times with the best combinations in the world, but I got popped once with a jab, and immediately my mind said, Michael, you're not perfect yet. You know, I could lift 1,000 pounds, but well, Michael, you're not perfect, because that guy over there can lift 1,002 pounds. You know, so I started living in this jail cell inside my brain of perfect, and it was impossibly perfect. And it wasn't until my mentor Chris Patterson talked about, instead of trying to be perfect, why don't you just focus on success? So because success can be gained 1%, 1% every single day, and over a long career. You know, I can joke about it now, but it took me 12 years to become an overnight success. Now all of a sudden I'm Michael Chandler, UFC lightweight, number 4 in the world, probably going to win the UFC title here in the next calendar year. But it took me 12 years to become this success named Michael Chandler, right? So I just needed to stop putting so much pressure on myself to be perfect, and just put the pressure on myself, and the friendly pressure on myself, to be above board, to be excellent, but not be perfect. There's a lot of different things that we can strive for that are just below perfect, that allow you just enough grace, just enough leeway to still love yourself through your trials, through your bad days. Because let's be honest, man, it doesn't matter. You speak to a lot of high performers, millionaires, billionaires, the people at the highest level. They have their bad days, they have their ups, and they have their downs. And it's in those downs, it's in those bad days where they can continue to motivate, continue to see through the mud, see through the muck towards a brighter future, knowing that the sun did go down today, but it will rise again tomorrow. And our best day could be tomorrow, even if we had a bad day today.
This is one of these shows, brother, I will listen to back several times. So one of the things that's really true is when I started to really work with, you know, what everyone would call, you know, higher elite performers or whatever it was, this is many, many years ago. I come home and think to myself, man, these are very human beings. You know, like right. I was struck by their humanity. I was struck by their frailties. I was struck by some of their weaknesses, and it actually gave me hope. I think that's what you're doing right now. And we've all heard this thing, like comparison is just this deadly game to play. Compare with another person. The worst comparison is to perfection, because that's a standard you're going to miss every single time. You literally wired yourself for pain. I'm just curious about fighting in general. By the way, I love Chris Patterson. I just want to make sure I stick that in there. In fact, that's how you and I met. Let me ask you this question. I'm just curious. Is there fear before a fight for you? In other words, 10 minutes out, you're going to go in there. This is the thing about fighting that I think people just forget, because it almost looks like a video game when you're watching it on TV for guys, right? I've had the pleasure of being in the cage a little bit myself. And so I know what it's like, not like you do, but there's another man in there. You can't hide. They closed the door. Michelle Watterson said on the show, you know, and there's you and another man. That's the ultimate form of combat. It's the ultimate form of you dealing with you, ironically, as you said. Do you have fear in those moments, or is there no fear because of confidence, because of faith, because of preparation? Or what do you do with the fear if you do have it?
You know, I actually, there is no fear of the physical. You know, could I get injured? Of course. Could I break a bone? Could I even worse? Could I end up, could tonight be the night that my career just ends, career ending injury? Of course, those things could happen. But once again, as I was alluding to earlier, if you're afraid of that uncertainty that's about to happen, if you're afraid of that physical aspect of the fight, it's going to be tough, because you're not going to be fighting in that flow state. You're not going to be fighting at your top level. Me standing across a wrestling mat or standing across a cage from another man, my size doesn't scare me. The biggest fears that I have are, going out there and performing at a subpar level, and not just subpar, but
Yep.
a really bad level, right? We've all had those moments where we you get back into your car after a meeting, or for me, go back to the locker room after a fight, and you just take a deep breath and you take a step back and say, what just happened? Like, that was such a bad performance. And I've had those, and those are the worst. That's the worst feeling in the entire world, because for a mixed martial artist, we only get 2, maybe 3 opportunities a year to showcase our skills in a cage in front of millions of people. So there's so much riding on that one performance. But I've gotten to the point where, once again, going back to, no matter what, win, lose, or draw, my God still loves me, my family still loves me, and I still love me. And because I've gotten to that point, knowing that, once again, leaning on the fact that I'm not going to be perfect, just trying to be successful. If I would have hung my hat on a couple of losses that I had in my past, I never would have got here to become the overnight success who is Michael Chandler in the UFC, right? It took a long time for me to get here, but I'm a battle-hardened veteran. I was galvanized by the road that I took. I was a new name to a lot of people when I made my UFC debut back in January at UFC 257, but I was not a new name to the true MMA fans. I was not a new mixed martial artist, a new professional fighter. For me, all roads had led to me being backstage at that UFC 257, but it's almost a weird parallel, because before, I felt like I always had something to lose. When I was fighting in Bellator, I was fighting a lot of guys who I was supposed to beat in the first round. There was almost no way to win or it be a positive outcome unless I went out there and finished somebody in the first round. And you're talking about fighting world-class. They're still world-class athletes. They still train every single day. They're still across the cage from you wanting to rip your head off just like you want to do the same. But I was always fighting guys who, for the most part, were ranked below me.
Yeah.
And I had to go out there and have a dominant performance. So I could go out there, and if I beat someone in the second round, people would always say, well, you should have beaten in the first round. You're Michael Chandler. You're supposed to be that much better than them. Whereas this was also a beautiful thing at UFC 257. I was fighting Dan Hooker, the number 5, number 6 guy in the world. I had nothing to lose, Yep. So that was a beautiful feeling, having nothing to lose, because I would venture to say that the underdog is so in such more of an advantageous situation because they have nothing to lose compared to the guy who is on top, who has everything to lose every single time he steps into an arena. And I got to that point at UFC 257, and luckily for me, I'm going to be an underdog the next fight, probably an underdog the next fight. So you're going to see the best version of myself for sure the next couple fights.
I was going to say to you, I want you to remind yourself of that no matter what situation you're in, because you're exactly right. In every situation, it's the illusion of loss that causes us to underperform. So if you can always not give yourself this bogus illusion of loss, even if you're the world champion in anything you do, even if you're the best. When I'm on a speaking ticket and there's 10 other speakers, but everyone maybe assumes in that case, potentially, I should dominate that stage when I speak. I don't let myself think that there's an illusion of loss coming if I don't live up to my game, because that's when I slip. That idea, that subpar fight, I just had a subpar engagement recently. But for me, every time I've had one of those what just happened moments, if I'm really self-reflective, and it's really self-reflection, there was something in my preparation that I could have done better. It's always back to me. Like you said earlier, it's not my opponent, especially in business. It's always preparation. How much of your confidence, and when in this particular situation, there were a couple things where I said to myself, literally, what just happened? No joke. And by the time I got on the plane to come home, I'm like, I know exactly what happened. I'm BSing myself. Here's what happened. I took a little bit for granted this one area that's my big strength. I didn't need to work on that preparing for this. Turns out I did, right? And so is that for you usually the answer to what just happened? And how much of your confidence is linked to preparation?
Being the small guy from the small town who had to always fight and scrap and claw his way to being seen by the coaches or being seen by the team, I had to be the hardest worker in the room. You know, I talk about the walk-on mentality. You know, I walked on to the University of Missouri. There were 16 guys in my class. Only 2 of us ended up becoming All-Americans. And one of them was going to become an All-American. His name was Raymond Jordan. He was a state champion from New Bern, North Carolina. He was my roommate. He was destined for big things. He was a full ride scholarship guy, but I was the walk-on guy. I was the guy who the coaches didn't look at for a whole year, didn't say a word to for the whole year. So, you know, me being the naive young guy, I had to outwork everybody. I was the first one at practice. I was the last one to leave. I was putting in the extra reps. And although that might sound a little bit, I guess, maybe insecure to a lot of maybe people listening right now, you still have to have that walk-on mentality, that mentality that says, even though I've gotten to where I am now, even though there's a couple zeros in my bank account, even though I got this name, even though I have this account, even though I have this level of success, I have this level of platform, you still have to be working every single day like you're a walk-on. So for me, my preparation is the most important part. I know for a fact that if I step inside the cage and there is doubts about my preparation, I'm never ever going to perform at the highest level. Now I might win the fight still, I might win the contest, so to speak, but there still will be some self-reflecting of you got kind of lucky because you slacked in this area, you slacked in that area, and that's, I think, what a lot of high achievers do. They hold themselves to a higher standard, not the perfection standard.
Yep.
That's where you fall into that valley of trying to be too perfect, but that level of excellence. Am I excellent in all these areas that I need to be excellent in? And if that answer is no, then chances are you're going to be in a spot that you're leaving yourself open to having failures and having loss.
I just think it's amazing that when you walk into an octagon, you walk into the cage. By the way, I'm going to take this from you myself. God still loves me. My family still loves me. I still love me. Everybody listening to the show should be writing that down or watching the show. And that ought to be a mantra you give yourself the gift of on a very regular basis. What a beautiful reminder as you're going into combat. It's just amazing that that's what you're saying to yourself. Okay, physical. When I look at you, and I'm around a lot of athletes, I see a superior physical specimen. And even as you've gotten older, I look at you 6-7 years ago. I look at a dude now. This is a superior physical specimen. And for a lot of my self-confidence just comes from my physicality. I'm not the same as you, obviously, but I think self-confidence can come from moving your body. It's one of the first places everybody listening or watching this can transform their self-confidence because it's something you can control. You can't control a sales call or a close or the amount of money you've got or even how someone's treating you in a relationship. Is there something specific you've done the last 2 or 3 years? Is it heavier lifting? Is it incorporating more weights? Is it, like in Brady's case, it's all this plyometric stuff he's doing to be more pliable? What is it for you that's made you, to me, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you were physically better before, but you look physically better to me now. Am I right about that? And what's the difference?
I think you are right about that. I think when I got into the sport, I was already going to be more athletic or stronger physically than a lot of people because of my wrestling background. Division I wrestling, in my opinion, is the hardest, most physically demanding sport in the entire world. So when I was going to come from Division I wrestling into the sport of mixed martial arts, where these guys have just been training mixed martial arts, I knew for sure I was going to be faster than them, stronger than them. I wasn't going to have great striking. I wasn't going to have great submissions or submission defense necessarily, but I was going to be a good athlete coming from wrestling. Since then, I've always trained to become the best athlete I can possibly be. And it was actually interesting that you say that because there was a young football player from MTSU here in Nashville. I was training with my trainer, and he asked my trainer, he said, "Hey, Jay Holt, if you've never fought before, how do you train a fighter?" And I love that I heard it because I wanted to hear his response. And his response was, "Well, we're just training to become a better athlete." Because I say, if I can be the better athlete in the cage that night, it might not win me the fight for sure, but it will put me head and shoulders above my opponent when it comes to speed, quickness, changing angles, closing the distance, strength, picking a guy up, putting him down, and cardio. The only one who is undefeated is Father Time, So eventually there will come a time when that clock ticks for the last time and, okay, it's time for me to be done fighting. Yeah, I just don't have it anymore. So the more I can turn back the hands of time by doing explosive, more plyometric movements, the better, and taking care of my body. It'd be crazy. I've been training now for 12 years, And probably only about the last 5 or 6 years have I been doing body work every single week. I get body work by a massage therapist, a highly knowledgeable physio body worker who understands the body. And I lived in back pain for a really long time, and I discovered a product called the So Right. Realized my psoas muscle from running, jumping, kicking, doing all these things was hindering me physically. And also I just woke up in pain every single day. So I had low back pain at all times. So I started lengthening my psoas. And
What's
then
the product called, Michael?
The So Right.
Okay.
PSO-RITE. I'll send you a few of them. Because I believe you've heard David Goggins talk about it.
Yep.
I actually spoke about it on the Joe Rogan podcast. Because everybody, you speak to anybody, what's the one thing that hurts everybody? Their back always hurts. And I think right now I'm sitting at a desk right now in this chair, and my psoas is being crunched down, and God didn't design our bodies to sit for the crazy amount of hours that we do. Or if you're sitting in, beautiful Southern California traffic, you're sitting in your car. It doesn't matter how nice your car is and how beautiful the leather is on the seats. You're still sitting down in a non-optimal position.
I think when it's affordable, people need to investigate more of this body work stuff. I've neglected that all my life. I've done pretty good with nutrition. I've trained really hard. I've not done enough body work. And I know that there's a dollar amount, although I have sponsors on my show with little different gadgets and different things that do help you with that. And I'm not plugging the sponsors. I'm just telling you guys, the Theragun is something that's really made a difference for me. And I'm not plugging the product. I'm just saying that's a form of body work. The other thing I want to just say to everybody too, this is one of my favorite conversations of all time, bro, which I knew it would be. But the fact that you define yourself as an athlete as much as you do a fighter, and I just want all the business people or moms or dads out there, what if one of the definitions, one of the terms you gave yourself is you were an athlete? You can be an athlete at any age. I actually call myself that. Like, it's one of the words I use in my affirmations is I'm an athlete. I think about that. I think that way. I think more athletes are attempting to become business people. If you look at the LeBron Jameses and the Michael Chandlers and the Tom Bradys, are good examples of they're becoming business people. More business people need to become athletes. That's the future. That's the present of where we are. So totally agree with you on that. Okay. Got to ask you about maybe my favorite thing I wanted to talk to you about all the time that we've, known one another. And by the way, we're going a little longer, brother. Sorry. It's just so good.
I love it. I love it.
But the last part I want to ask you about is your faith, because you're a sinner saved by the grace of God, just like I am. I don't want anybody thinking either one of us are perfect people, because we're not, and neither one of us have all the answers. I know people say all the time, you just got all the answers. Ed. I said, no, I have all the mistakes, and I can save you on your life with all the mistakes I've made, more than I just the Yoda of answers. But my faith has been central in my life. It's given me the most comfort. I love that the first thing you say is God still loves me. How important is that to you in your life overall, pre and post your fight career? I'm just curious.
I mean, it's the most important part, because it's the wellspring by which everything else flows from. I think the overarching theme of this entire talk that we've been having, even though we haven't even said the actual word too much, but the word is gratitude. Operating in gratitude. Realizing the gifts that I've been given, realizing that to give anything less than my best every single day is to sacrifice these amazing life that God has given me. Man, I got every single thing. I don't have a lot, but I'm not missing a dang thing. I'm not missing a thing in my life that I need. And all of that is by the grace of God. All of that is, when I think about the young Michael Chandler coming from High Ridge, Missouri, God, every single person, every single setback, every single up, every single down, every single door that stayed closed, every single door that opened, God had me in the palm of his hand all the way through it in the entire time. And if you can, and I do this often too, even just visualizing the hand of God. It looks just like my hand, right? Because we were made in the image of an almighty God. But I see myself, the young Michael Chandler, the middle school Michael Chandler, the high school Michael Chandler, who had all his doubts and insecurities, and then the college and high school wrestler Michael Chandler, who just wanted to win medals and wanted to be put on the top of that podium, and then now the fighter Michael Chandler, the father Michael Chandler, the husband Michael Chandler. All of these things I can see, and I can see him all the way through my entire life, knowing that there's so much comfort and there's so much rest in God having me in the palm of his hand, and it's such a humbling feeling. And I think when you really pull yourself back from a 30,000 foot view of, man, there's been some tough times, and man, there's been some tears shed, and man, there's been a lot of dark sleepless nights, and there's been some rough roadblocks, but all of those things, Romans 8:28, everything worked out for the good of his people, and it's, as we said, I by no means am any better than you or anybody else listening, but we are sinners saved by the grace of God. And it's that humbling feeling of knowing that you don't get what you do deserve, and you do get what you don't deserve every single day and every single season. And now arguably every single thing I've accomplished so many of the things that I wanted to set out to accomplish, and I still have so many things left to accomplish, and all of them are tied to my faith. And a faith in an almighty God who is merciful enough to see me through the tough times. And he is gracious enough to continue to bless me, even when I look and say, man, how the heck did this work out for me? And it's just such a beautiful thing. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity that I've been given. And I feel like I can take this thing to the top only because I live in a constant state of gratitude. And truthfully, if I can just help other people live with a little bit more gratitude, knowing that their best days and their blessed days are out ahead of them, because a guy like me who comes from a small town, who I was taught to do small things, but somehow I've touched every corner of the globe somehow, because God's given me some amazing gifts that hopefully a few people can be inspired by my story, and all of it ties back to my faith.
I'm so grateful for you, bro. And I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
This has been an absolutely remarkable conversation. I knew that when you and I got together and did this in front of everybody, that it would be special, but I mean this. I just want you to know, I'm so proud of you. I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful that I got to share this man with the millions of people that I love so much in my audience. I started out by saying that not only you're a special athlete, but you're a special man. And everybody saw that on full display today. Your calling is even beyond fighting. It's this platform that's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then someday it's going to be all of this based on that platform. But you stepped into a state today, brother, that was a championship level state. And so thank you, man. Talk just for a second. I'm just curious because I didn't know I'd go there. Virgil, did he play a role in your life in any other way other than boxing, in terms of your confidence or any of that other stuff? Like even your demeanor to some extent. Yeah. And watching him in interviews, he's got sort of a, I'm sure he burns rages on the inside, but he's got kind of a cool, calm exterior about him that I see in you too. Go ahead and speak to that.
No, I mean, I have a lot of my father in me, and I also have a lot of Verge in me. It's hard not to have their imprint on me, you know, when I've been around them and spent so much time, we spent so much time together. And that again, that's probably something throughout the course of my life as a fighter and just as a man that has separated me, is like they came, Virgil and my dad came from the old school. Like they didn't come in the social media era where, a lot of athletes today, they'll show you the hard work and you really don't know how much work they're really putting in behind the scenes. Like we really got it the hard way. Yeah. And one thing that they always, like we didn't just go to the gym and work the body, they always were working my mind. Whether I was on my way to a run that morning and didn't really want to be there and was dragging, getting ready as an 11, 12-year-old kid, or going to a big tournament where I wasn't touted to really do anything. Like the mental reps, him being in my ear year after year, day after day, telling me, listen, son, you're meant to be here. I'll give you an example. Athens, Greece, in 2004, had not fought the upper echelon of international competition. I had fought Puerto Rico, Mexico, but never the Cubans, never the Russians. Those were the countries that dominated boxing.
They were really professional boxers in the amateur ranks.
Right. They do it full time. And most of the time, unless they come over to America, they don't turn pro. A smaller guy, I fought at 178 pounds, should have been at the lower weight class of 165 pounds, but I had a cousin that during the Olympic trials was trying to make it. And I said, okay, I don't want us to fight. I think I'm gonna grow anyway, so let me go up.
Are you kidding me? You took a different weight class?
I didn't grow like I thought I was.
Okay.
So I'm weighing in every morning at 170, 171, maybe 72 on a good day. I'm drinking waters and Gatorades and Powerades just to be respectable when I get on the scales. And the weight master, they would look at me and say, oh, you're little, you're small, you should be lower. And I just kind of point to the sky. I had a burner phone that they gave us, and Verge had a burner phone. And he would just call me and he'd stay in my ear. Look, son, you're here for a reason. God didn't bring you this far for nothing. And those types of words would just cause me to be emboldened. You know, when we first got the draw and I found out what bracket I was in, I got the toughest bracket. Yevgeny Makirenko, the 2-time world champion from Russia, was going to be my second fight if I won my first fight. And everybody's kind of like, you know, everybody on the U.S. team was like, oh my God, you know, act like it was a death. Like, man, Dre got a tough draw and this and that. And versa, that's the way it's supposed to be. That mentality that he had, those types of words, that type of faith and belief has been something that has been ingrained in me, instilled in me, drilled in me since I've been a kid.
Wow, that's gold. The couple of gold things. One is just having somebody in your life that you can find and seek out that's feeding you all of these, you know, these beliefs, this confidence you have, finding that mentor in your life. And then also the part that you shared earlier, I just want to make sure we reiterate too about if your dad had it his way in the very beginning, you probably wouldn't have even been boxing. And that's true for me in my career. I think if my family had it their way in the very beginning, I'd have been working at, you know, some employee job and paying my bills. And so many of you out there listen to these voices you have in your family. These people who love you, but they don't necessarily have the vision or the wisdom to know exactly where you're supposed to go in your life. Thank God that you got Virgil and your own beliefs in your...
Welcome back to the program, everybody. I'm so fired up today. This is a man I've admired from a distance for so many years. He is one of the great leaders in American sports. He just is. And he does it with a style that is all his own. And it's one that I've admired from a distance. Some of our mutual friends have confirmed what a good man he is for me. And let me tell you, 140-33 while he's been at Clemson as the head football coach there. But he started to get better and better and better. Last 3 years, only lost 3 games, undefeated in 2018, 2 national championships. The list goes on and on. And this is from a guy who was a walk-on at Alabama, by the way, which is even more ironic that you went to Alabama. Now you coach at Clemson. But I am honored to have Dabo Swinney on the program today. Coach, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ed. It's good to be with you, man. This is what a great treat to be on this podcast or show and opportunity to meet you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Coach. So we're going to go all over the place. We're going to talk leadership, recruiting, culture, all these different things. But as I was reading about you, you know, you walked on in college and then you end up that you won a national championship as a player too. A lot of people don't know that. So you've done a lot of winning in your life, but you get this job. And I heard you say that they rated you a D+ higher because you were like the interim coach. But is this true? Because I want everyone to get this. A lot of you that are listening to this, you're entrepreneurs, you're leaders. Maybe you're a little bit young in some cases too. This man was 38 years old when he takes over this program. Is it true that when they hired you, you went like literally into a closet, like a physical closet, and were talking to yourself? Is that actually true?
That is true. So what happened is I just, came to work on October 13th, 2008. I was an assistant in my 6th year here as an assistant, and middle of the season, 3-3. We were coming off a tough loss, and they decided to make a change at head coach, the head coach position. And, I had absolutely no idea. We had a 7 a.m. staff meeting that morning, and it was actually my day to do the devotion. Kind of rotates around the room, and it just happened to be my day that day. And it was just business as usual. It was a Monday. We were going to play Georgia Tech that weekend, and had our staff meeting like we always do. Went on in our offensive meetings. I was an offensive coach, and so we're in our planning. And about mid-morning, about 10:30 or so, the operations guy walks in and says, "Hey, Coach Bowden needs to see the whole staff in the staff room." Well, that never happens. We had already had staff meeting that morning, so it was really kind of odd. So we all got in there, knew something was going on. He walks in and he basically just said, didn't have a lot of words. He just said, how much he appreciated us and hey, this is something that's going to happen. We're going to make it. They're going to make a change. And he said, hey, look, I'm good. He said, I just, worry about all you guys. I'm going to visit with you individually in due time. But right now the AD wants to step in and say a few words. Mm-hmm. So you're sitting there and, you got a lot going through your mind. I'm a young guy. I got a young family, people going on. AD steps in. AD was not a man of many words either. Old school guy from Arkansas. And he basically just said, "Hey, look, this isn't something that I wanted to happen." But he did tell Coach Bowden he was going to make a change at the end of the year, regardless of what happened. And Coach Bowden, they revisited later on that morning and said, "You know what? This is going to be a negative 7 weeks. Why don't we just make a change here and let's let Dabo be the interim. And Coach Bowden, the head coach, he kind of, said, hey, would you consider Dabo being the interim? And AD said, absolutely. He said, and so anyway, next thing you know, he walks in and he says, hey, here's what's happening. I know it's a tough business. I expect y'all to just continue to do your job. We got a bunch of kids that's counting on us. And he said, Dabo, you're now the head coach. Wow. And I need to see you in my office in 5 minutes. And walked out. And so, he walks out. We're in there. It was this weird moment, kind of slamming pens and notebooks. And then all of a sudden it got dead quiet. And everybody in the room is looking at me. I mean, I'm in sweatpants. I mean, Mondays are long days in our world. And just, I didn't even really know what to say, but it was just, I was like having an out of body experience,
Sure.
But I just said, you know what, hey guys, look, let me go meet with him. We'll get back together in a little bit. I didn't even really know what to say. And I went to my office and grabbed a notebook and a pen, called my wife on the way to his office, said, hey, we just got let go. They just fired Tommy. Oh my God. I said, oh, it gets worse. I'm the interim. And I said, I don't know when I'll talk to you, Kath. And so I go around and take a deep breath. I walk in his office, and I really went in with the mindset of, this is going to be a miserable, we had 6 games left and an open date. So 7 weeks, this is going to be a miserable 7 weeks, but I'm thinking he's probably going to tell me, hey, do a good job. I'll try to get the next guy to keep you or something, along those lines. But just the opposite happened. There was such great lessons that came out of that I still tell people to this day when I go speak. So I walk in this man's office and I sit down, and he looks at me and he said, Dabo, let me tell you something. I know you're in a tough spot here. He goes, but here's what I want you to know. And he kind of told me how it all kind of came about. He goes, but here's where we are. He said, for the next 7 weeks, I want you to be the head coach. I don't want you to be the interim head coach. For the next 7 weeks, I want you to do whatever you think you need to do to fix us. He said, if you need to fire the whole staff, fire the whole staff. Wow. He said, whatever you think you need to do, for the next 7 weeks, you have my full support. Wow. That was a mistake on his part. Okay. But this is what he tells me. And then he said, for 5.5 years, I've watched you. I've watched how you've led your players, how you've handled yourself in the community. I watch you with your family. He said, I see these kids in your office. I've seen how you handle discipline and recruiting. And he said, Dabo, I'm going to be honest with you. I've done this a long time. He said, I think you're what we need here at Clemson. Wow. He goes, so what I want you to know is when this thing's over, you're going to get an interview for the job. He goes, whether you win them all or lose them all, he said, I'm going to give you an interview for this job. He goes, now I'm going to hire the best coach. Now I'm going to go all over. I'm going to hire the best coach. He goes, but I'll say it again. I think you're what we need at Clemson. He goes, now, it sure would help if you could win a few ball games. Right. And then he goes, and then he kind of sits back. He says, you got any questions? And I'm like, my whole mind. So now my mind is racing. So I leaned up and I said, so you're, I said, well, I appreciate that. And I said, you're telling me that like I can be the head coach and for 7 weeks. He said, I'm telling you, whatever you think we need to do, you need to do to fix us. You got my full support. And I'm like, so I walked out of this office. And I've had a notepad and my mind is racing. Yeah. And because I went in there with one mindset and I came out with a different mindset. And the lesson that I got from that was, number one, you never know who's watching. So just be great at whatever you do. Wow. Whatever it is you're doing, just be great at it. So many people, especially in this business, they're chasing things. They want this title or they're this and that. And the grass is green where you're watering it, right? Just be great where you are. Just be great where your feet are. Bloom where you're planted is what I always say. You don't know who's watching, but I know this: if you're great at what you do, people will notice that. Amen. And so that was a lesson, and I learned that as a player. Same thing happened to me as a player. I'm a sophomore. I'm a walk-on. I come to a Tuesday practice. Boom! They say, "Hey, we're going to give you a shot." And I didn't even know he was paying attention. Next thing you know, I led her 3 years. I get a scholarship, win a national championship. But the second part of that lesson is you got to be prepared for your opportunity. You know, you got to be prepared for your opportunity. You may not ever get it, but right, better be prepared. You know, anyway. So
what did you do, Coach, to be prepared? Like,
yeah,
he tapped you on the shoulder. You're ready. Did you think you were ready?
Absolutely. So to answer that, so when I walked out of there, I went in a closet. I went in like
that's a true story.
Half janitor closet, half vent, and I just closed the door and I just sat in there. And for 45 minutes, I just started writing. I just started writing, and I was all over the place. You know, I'm thinking recruiting. I'm thinking discipline, how I want to change practice. What would I want to do this week? How am I going to meet with the team? I got to meet with the staff. Is there anybody I need to make a change with? You know, I'm going to run the offense. I'm going to, you know, I had all these things going on, and I'm just scribbling 100 things, you know, for that moment.
Yeah.
All right. But so I go through that. But the second part of it is, from the time I got into coaching in 1993, I was preparing to be a head coach. All right. I didn't know if I'd ever get a chance to be a head coach, but I love what I do. I love what I was doing. I just was trying to be the best at whatever it was. But I started kind of building a book, started putting a head coach book together literally right out of the gate. Things I liked, things I didn't like, academic stuff, philosophy of offense, philosophy of defense, philosophy of recruiting, philosophy of special teams, you know, who I would want to hire, you know, what would be my staff expectation, you know, whatever, how I would run practice, you know, and I started putting all this, just building this all over the years. And all through the years, I like that. Throw it in the book. Or, you know, a lot of times, so I coached 8 years at Alabama when I finished playing. I played 5, coached 8. And a lot of times we learn more from the bad than we do the good, you know, and that's called experience. You know, when we touch that hot stove and we get that big, you know, we learn, right?
Yes.
But the wise man learns from other people's experiences. So we all learn from our own. That's just life. But man, I just spent a lot of time learning from other people. And I do that with my players to this day. I send them stuff from all over the country all the time, you know, whether it's something good or something bad, you know, to learn from others. And so I just started going through things, and I spent the first 7 years, I spent all 7 years of Coach Stallings' career at Alabama with him. And then all of a sudden I start working for other people, getting exposed to different things. And I start going, oh, well, now I know why he did it that way. Wow. You know, and so I started having things reinforced. And then I started, you know, growing into my own, as far as my beliefs, my philosophy. And I started putting all this together. And what happened to me, this was a great turning point for me in 2000. I think it was 2006. They were starting a football program at the University of South Alabama, the Jaguars down in Mobile, and they're a good program, but they were starting football there. And they reached out to me to come interview for the job. And I'm like, you know what? And it was, to be quite honest with you, and I only told this to my wife, if I had gotten the job, I wouldn't have taken it. But I told Kath, I said, you know what, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prepare for this job like it's the University of Alabama, like it's the job. And so it forced me to take all those years of stuff, and I put it together, and I organized, and I went after that job like it was the greatest job. I mean, I had Jaguar Nation. We're fixing to rule the world, man. I had everything in there. And so I was prepared, and you know, and I finished like second or third on the job. They didn't offer me the job. But I finished second or third on the job, but I really wouldn't have taken it if they'd offered it, but it was such a great process. And so all of a sudden, 2 years later, I'm the interim head coach at Clemson. And so, and I'm going to get an interview. So I'm in the middle of the season. I'm in chaos. I'm making changes. I got all this stuff going on. But when that season was over, you know what I did? I walked in, I had the president, I had the AD, the assistant, and I had them all a book. And I said, hey, this is who I am. This is what we're going to be. This is what we're going to do. This is what our philosophy is. This is how we're going to run the program. This is the staff I want to hire. This is, you know, our discipline policy. This is what I believe in. And, you know, bam, here we go.
That to me is like, Coach, I feel like we just did the whole show. Like, I hope everybody got this and goes all the way back. All this stuff about blooming where you're planted, the grass is greener where you water it. I've actually never heard it said that way before. But this idea that he was blooming where he was planted, being the best and great at what he did, but preparing for the future all the time. It's amazing to me, even entrepreneurs, that, even will listen to the show, they'll write down little keys, but are you watching how the guest says it, how they phrase it, how they position it, how they tell a story, how I do it, where you work right now? If you're an employee somewhere, are you prepping to be a business owner someday, studying what works and what you said too about what doesn't work? Are you keeping that binder that coach kept of keeping these notes? And experience allows you to anticipate too. If you don't have experience, I think you're constantly reacting.
Yes.
And I think what happened was when you got this job, a lot of guys get that opportunity. They didn't prepare like you. Now they're just reacting, recruiting, this problem, the boosters. We just had this loss. Oh my gosh, our center's hurt. And they're reacting all the time. This allowed you, I think, would you agree with me, Coach, that preparation allows you to anticipate situations sometimes that you wouldn't get if you weren't prepared.
You got a plan. You know, one of my favorite quotes from Abraham Lincoln was, Abraham Lincoln said, if you give him 6 hours to chop down a tree, he's going to spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. You know, I mean, it's all about preparation. It's just in my world and what we do, we only play about 3% of the time. We prepare 97% of the time. But it's what you're doing when nobody's watching. That's what separates people. You know, you didn't get here. I don't know your whole background, but I guarantee you didn't get here doing this show. You didn't just show up. I mean, it's what you're doing. Championships are won when nobody's watching. They're when the stands are empty. And it's the same thing with people. Champions are made when what you do when nobody's watching. So it's that 97% of the time. You know, we all work, we have jobs, but it is all about preparation and having a plan. And so having a vision. Being able to articulate that vision. You're going to deal with young people today. Number one, they better know that you care. Number two, you better be able to communicate why. All right. And you've got to be able to articulate a vision and get people to buy in and get behind that. I don't care if you're running a company or whatever it is, but the other key thing, this is very important because, you know, especially in my world, and I deal with a lot of young people and I deal with a lot of young coaches now, you know, and I've been an 18 to 22 year old, and I have a PhD in 18 to 22 year olds because I've spent my entire life with that group, my whole life. Right. In fact, I was at a convention a couple years ago, and I had this couple young guys. I'm going up. We were in Louisville, and I'm going back to my hotel room. And I'm standing over by the elevator, and couple of these young guys came up to me, and they were like GAs at grad assistants somewhere. I don't know if they were at Baylor or where, some school. And they came up to me, Coach Swinney, you know, just wanted to introduce themselves. I'm like, hey, nice to meet you guys. And I'm literally standing there at the elevator, and they're like, you know, Coach Swinney, listen, we just want to, you know, they wanted me to give them 30 years of stuff and knowledge in a minute here. And they want to go from GA to head coach. And they listen. I said, well, here's what I would tell you guys. All right. And it's exactly what I just said. I said, be great at whatever you're doing. If you're the GA, be the best GA in the history of GAs. If your job's to go get the coffee, man, you bring the best coffee that anybody's ever, you get that coffee, man, everybody's going, man, did you get that coffee? This guy's unbelievable. All right. People notice that. I said, I can't tell you how many people I've hired that they don't have some fancy resume. What they got is they got an unbelievable work ethic and attention to detail. And they're just so focused being great at what they're doing, they don't get distracted. So that's number one. Prepare, but you need to hear me on this. Guys, I'm about to get on this elevator and I'm going to hit 14 because I'm on the 14th floor. And when the doors open, I'm on the 14th floor. Well, let me tell you this, you got to take the steps. All right. There's no elevator to being a head coach. There's no elevator to being the CEO. There's no elevator to greatness. You got to put the work in and take the steps, period. And you know what? Enjoy it. Yeah. Enjoy it. It's not about, because I've been to the top. I tell our guys all the time, I've been to the mountaintop and it's awesome. And we love it. We climb a mountain every year at Clemson. That's kind of our thing. You know, how you climb a mountain, one step at a time. We love that. And we start out base camp. You know, and at the top of the mountain is awesome, but that's not what it's all about. That's just a moment. What you will cherish more than anything is the journey that it took to get there. Like, man, what it took to get there, the people you were with, the relationships that you developed along the way, the failures that you had, the mistakes that you made, that you learned from, that you grew from. That's what you cherish more than anything. Everybody looks and they see the grand moments, you know, Tom Brady winning a Super Bowl. That's great. You know what Tom Brady's going to remember more than anything? Man, those practices, you know, getting together with the guys, the bus rides, the plane rides, the when nobody's watching, the preparation. 100%. That's what it takes.
I'm getting goosebumps, y'all. Like,
you got to fall in love with that. You got to embrace the suck, right? There's a lot of it that just sucks, and you got to fall in love with that part if you're gonna do anything great in life. It's not going to just happen. So the preparation and falling in love with the preparation, all the great players that I've been around, that's what separates them. Gotcha. They love the preparation. Everybody loves to play.
Yeah.
All right. But it's falling in love and embracing the suck along the way. That's what separates us.
Oh my gosh. Very rarely am I in the middle of one of these shows. I'm like, this is freaking great. We're in the first quarter, just because I just want to keep going. But I was going to say this to you. I just gave a talk this weekend, a bunch of entrepreneurs, very high entrepreneurs. I said, I'm going to give you my overall business philosophy. It's going to surprise you. I said, here's what it is. Everybody you encounter wants to feel this from you, that you love them, care about them, believe in them, and you can show them how to get a little bit better. That's it. And they're saying, help me. You said it of young people, but it's true, I think, Coach, of all people, as you said. And then this notion, I just want to review. I'm not going to review everything he says, but he says so many good things. This idea of the love of the preparation, I promise you that's true across the board with the athletes I've worked with too. But in addition to that, being able to create a vision that you can articulate, that people buy into, is like, you're listening to this man talk. There's a rhythm. There's a flow. It's so easy to listen to him. He wasn't born with that. That's something that he's worked on over time.
Let's talk about that for the career for a second. I'm curious, because this small town guy, not a big time school. Now you're in camp with the Niners, your rookie year. Okay. Mm-hmm. Jerry freaking Rice is there.
Yeah.
Probably your hero growing up, right?
I never, like I said, my grandmother's so strict, I didn't get to do a whole lot. Didn't watch a lot of TV.
That's crazy.
The only TV shows that I really got to watch was Wheel of Fortune. I got to watch the Channel 6, Channel 12 news.
Really?
And I got to watch the Cosby Show.
Get out, really, for real.
Yeah.
But did you know who Rice was?
Yeah,
when you were there?
No, not until like my junior year in college.
Oh my gosh, that's bananas.
Like,
you didn't know who Jerry Rice was till your junior year in college?
Junior year in college.
Okay.
I had no idea because I never followed football like that.
Okay. So
I never really was a football fan.
So you go to camp, though. I know a little bit about the history. So Jerry Rice is there. Then there's a number one pick in front of you, Stokes out of UCLA.
Yeah,
Wasn't he there
got
too?
drafted the year before, 95.
So they got a number one. They invest a third round pick in you, right? What was that like going? Did you have to earn a roster spot? Like, were you the first thing, like, I got to make the spot? Or
well, absolutely. I again, not really knowing and being aware of what the draft consists of, what it encompasses. I mean, I thought, okay, you drafted, you're on the team. I mean, I didn't know you had.
Really?
I didn't know you had to go through the process of you got to make the team. So
that's awesome.
Again, like I said, that was kind of how clueless I was to really me playing beyond the collegiate level, because I never thought that I would play beyond the collegiate level.
Awesome.
We mentioned basketball. I played 3 years of basketball. I mean, the program wanted me not to play my senior year, understanding that I had an opportunity to play professionally. Football. So, but my love was so great for basketball. I was like, no, I'm not going to forego my senior year of playing basketball to concentrate on football, when that was never really on my radar.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I was drafted, wore number 15 in camp. My coaches, Larry Kirksey at the time, they drafted me on potential based on my physical attributes and what I could probably add to the game. They thought that I could learn under Jerry Rice, J.J. Stokes, and then I got to be there and saw guys like Nate Singleton. These are veteran receivers, Chris Thomas, and a lot of other free agents that were on the team at the time. So I'm looking around, I'm like, I'm number 15. I don't get an 80 number. You don't get an 80 number, a legit number, until you make the team.
I didn't know that.
So 15 was my number, going all the way through preseason. And as this preseason unfolded, you started to see the cuts break down as we get closer to the season. So I saw guys that I felt in my mind were better than I was.
Really?
They were getting cut. So I mean, it's natural instinct. Okay, if you know that your skill set is not where theirs are. You're like, okay, well, I'm next.
You're next.
That's the same. I was a realist about my abilities when I was in high school and college. I knew that there were guys that were better than me.
That's crazy to hear.
I knew in college, I knew that there were guys that were bigger, faster, and stronger than me, even in college. But that's what prompted me to get the key. Not only did I work out in my spare time when I was in high school, those 30, 45 minutes, I didn't go home during the summer after my freshman and sophomore year of school. So I got the key from the strength and conditioning coach. I did the same thing. Got the key to the weight room.
Here we go.
did the same thing. I would go in. That's how I got stronger, because I was in there by myself.
Okay.
So I had to lift off by myself.
Yeah.
I had to be careful because I was in there by myself.
No one spotting you.
Nobody spotting me. So that's how I got stronger. So these are some of the things that I did unbeknownst to the world out there in terms of how I made it.
This is so good because you outworked everybody. It's also the things you do when no one's watching. Like when you played, one of the things everyone would say, oh, his physique.
Right.
Now you know where this comes from.
It doesn't happen overnight.
That's awesome to hear. I hope everyone's hearing these lessons, business, sports, you name it. And then again, this running theme of you taking advantage of opportunity, right? So during that season, Rice gets hurt.
That's my second
season.
year.
Is that when you had your breakthrough? Was really the second season?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Yeah,
Okay.
I played sparingly. You know, my rookie year, I played a lot of special teams.
Yes.
But
would you catch a couple passes that year, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I had I don't know how many yards I had. No, I think I had like 4 touchdowns my rookie year. But again, I started to kind of just familiarize myself with the playbook, Steve Young, just the culture of professional football in itself. And so I go in my second year, again, going into the offseason, I'm preparing myself just to be a vital part, of value to the team. And so we go into my second season, first game, we go down to Tampa. Jerry Rice, I think he runs a reverse or something, and Warren Sapp, I think, just beat our defensive end, got him from behind, and he tears his ACL. From that point on, I mean, I get thrown into the fire.
And here we go.
And so that's where that preparation, you know, that and just me familiarizing everything that I had done my rookie year, leading up to my second year, I was preparing myself for this moment.
I love it.
And if I wasn't prepared, then I wouldn't have been able to add value to the team. You see, I didn't say success because I hadn't. There was no level of success at that point.
Wow.
I was still trying to add value.
Wow.
I was trying to add value to the Jerry Rices, to the Steve Youngs, to the JJ Stokes, to the organization, to the team itself.
Wow.
So I hadn't really experienced any success at this point. I was still trying in that mode of proving myself that I could play at the professional level.
What a great distinction. So when did by the way, I want to tell you one thing, just off the whole thing. I turn on a football game, it's the playoffs, it's you guys against Green Bay. The best catch I've seen in a clutch moment in my entire life is that catch you made in the end zone.
That says a lot.
What year was that, though?
99.
Okay, we're going to feed this in right here. You're going to watch this guy come across. It's the middle, and you get obliterated and hold on to this football, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of stuff about like you added value, and then it was like, oh my God, this guy's special.
It's
right.
It's literally like where I caught the ball. It's equivalent to going in between two cars.
Unreal.
Or going into the eye of a hurricane or a tornado. Because Steve Young, he put that pass where nobody else could catch it but me.
How much time was left in the game?
I think at that time when I caught it, about 8 seconds left.
Like 8 seconds left in the game, right? So I think things like that start happening. So you took advantage of your opportunity. Then there's these special moments, and you start going, wait a minute, maybe I got something here, right? Maybe I'm special. When did you have this guy? Just so you know, this man had 20 catches in a single football game. So I'm curious, did you know going into that game, like whoever the corner was that way, I'm gonna eat this dude up, or was that just the game kind of fell in your direction?
Well, for everybody that don't know out there, this is Jerry Rice's last home game.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So yeah, this is Jerry Rice's last home game. We playing the Chicago Bears.
Okay.
We go into this game with the game plan and the mindset of we're trying to send this guy off into the sunset. You know what I mean? We're trying to send him off into something like this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So our first 15 plays scripted or 20 plays, I think it was 15.
Okay.
I guarantee you 98% of the pass plays, 13 to 14 of the pass plays or the plays in general were for Jerry.
Okay.
We're trying to send the greatest receiver of all time out the best way possible.
Got you.
But not only did we know that, but the world knew that. The Chicago Bears knew that.
Right.
The defense knew that.
Yes.
So they tried to prevent, and they did a great job of taking him out of the game.
Taking him away, which opened up space for you.
What did you just mention? You segue into this by saying me taking advantage of opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So Jeff Garcia, the quarterback at the time, he had to be smart going through his progressions, knowing that, okay, I can't imagine what Jeff was like. We're trying to get the greatest receiver of all time. We're trying to get him off. And so he has to be smart about the game plan, not to force anything. So he goes through his progressions, and Jerry been the #1 receiver, and you could have said that me and JJ, again, depending on the receiver sets or formations, we're 2 and 3 in the progression.
Yeah.
So I was just basically running my routes to win, to be open, to be that secondary receiver. If Jeff goes through his one option and Jerry's not there, he goes to 2 or he goes to 3. I was on the receiving end of 20 of those passes.
20. It's interesting. This is like the most telling part of the interview, just so you know, because the perception of you, I think sometimes is that this is, and it's completely opposite. I'm going to bring another example up in a minute. I think like the ultimate team player on the field. I just asked you about a record you had for a long time, and you credited Jerry with it. You literally just said that he created opportunities for me, right?
It really was.
That's a team. That's what a team person. Actually, most team guys would not even say that. So that's incredible that I asked you about a record you hold. And you basically give credit to Rice for moving coverage his way and opening things up for you, and to your quarterback, by the way, too. I'm curious because now you become the Jerry Rice the rest of your career. One of the things that's unique, you guys, when you're at a high level of sports, is that you see the records he's got, but you have to understand something. Every football game this man went into for about a decade or more, the defense on that Monday when they got together was, how do we stop 81? Right? You understand the whole structure of the defense is, how do we take away their best weapon? This was their best weapon. What's that like? I'm curious. Like all week, you got to be so good. You're going to face their best corner, right? Or they're going to slant coverage your way. You're going to get double covered most of the time, whatever it is. What's it like knowing a whole team is scheming against you? And how did you end up prevailing week after week after week, beating coverage like that? What was that? Was it your the ability to run the route? Was it your film study? All of it? Like what was it?
It's just my preparation, understanding what they're going to give me, understanding my coaching, them helping me. They were helping me perfect the craft of becoming a receiver. Coming out of Chattanooga, I had no idea really, I wasn't faced with the level of competition that I was going to be facing in the pros. So I had to work on these things, day in and day out after practice, working with my hands, working with my feet. My physical part, that was a given. I mean, I could run through a guy all day, but I knew in order for me to progress and get to the level of Jerry Rice, then I had to add some tools to my toolbox. I had a toolbox, but I probably had maybe 2 or 3 tools in there.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I was lacking. So I had to add some tools to my repertoire into my box in order to really perform at the level that I knew that I could once I started to grasp what I could do on the football field.
So the separator was that extra preparation, those extra tools. Again,
you have average, you have good, and you have great football players. And you see that there's only the margin with good and great is very, very slim. And what separates those guys, when you think about in football, you think about the Jerrys, you think about the Tom Brady's, your Steve Young, all of Hall of Fame caliber or talent guys. In basketball, you think about the Kobe, you think about the Michael Jordan, you think about the LeBrons, and what they're doing later on in their careers is because they realize that there's something that separates them from good to great. Coming out of high school, I wasn't that great coming out of high school, but these guys, when you think about Kobe's, the Kevin Garnett's, the LeBrons, they're projected to be great. But it'll be a big disappointment and failure if they don't exceed or live up to those expectations. But you think about what Kobe did. He took the blueprint of what Michael Jordan did. You think about what LeBron has done. Not only, you can't just pinpoint and characterize him with one particular player. He possesses so many abilities from all these great players that have paved the way from him. He realizes that, and he took advantage of the opportunities. So he takes the time to play 15 seasons, and now you feel like you look at this guy play, he can play 15 more because he's invested in himself. He believes in himself. And that's what I had to do too. I knew that I wasn't good at that at one point. I was average. I started from average, and I worked my way to good. And then once I saw, I'm like, okay, I'm a pretty decent athlete. What can I do to take me to the next level? I utilized the resources around me, from my personal trainer to my coaches. I listened. When I would be on the football field and I would see Steve Young talking to Brent Jones, or he would be talking to the quarterback coach Matt Cavanaugh, or when Bill Walsh may walk on the field, or he's talking to Jerry Rice. These are conversations that they had. I was in earshot distance. I would be paying attention. So if there was something that he and Steve and Jerry are trying to get on the same page with, I knew that he's talking to him, but I'm being taught at the same time. So I'm taking all this into account, into consideration, because I may be in that situation one day, and ultimately I was, because I had some big shoes to fill. Wow. Honestly, I was afraid to be average. I was afraid to be good. I wanted to be great. I wanted to be better than good. And so that's what enabled me to do the things that I did on the football field. When I saw smaller guys, squirt through defenses, how quick they were, how agile they were, I knew as a big body, in order for me to get to that level, I had to work on these things.
Wow. This is awesome. Like maybe some of my favorite 3 or 4 minutes in the history of doing this, because this is like inside the inside of the inside of a Hall of Famer in anything. Same is true for any of you guys in business. You get to that level where you're good, and you want to get to that level where you're being great. It's fighting for these little extra things, those extra mentors, extra conversations, extra preparation, extra tool in your toolbox to communicate or close or product or whatever the heck it is. Like, It's awesome. Curious, this is a football question. Toughest corner you had to go up against in your career?
Aeneas Williams.
Aeneas Williams from the Cardinals. Was he in the Cardinals? Yeah.
First, he was with the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah, Rams and then Cards, right?
Because I was in the NFC West, so we played them twice a year for my first 3 or 4 years. And so he was a big corner.
Okay.
I was a big receiver. So again, I'm sure he did film study, just like I had to do film study. And guys that did film study to try to minimize you, like you said, they game plan. How do you stop this guy?
Yes.
I was just a young buck, 81. How do you stop? How do you stop this young kid? Yeah. How do you stop this young kid?
Yeah.
So him being a veteran, I'm sure he studied film on what I did good, what I did decent, what I did poorly, and he probably tried to minimize those things, eliminate those things. What I did great, good at that time. And so it was tough getting off bump and run, because going to a small school, I wasn't faced with a lot of that.
Okay. So everybody probably wanted to get physical with you at the line of scrimmage, but very few guys had the capacity to do it because you were so strong, right? And Williams could.
Right, and the thing is, especially for him, he was just my size, so he could. There was some room for error for him to make up. Okay. But if it's a smaller guy, if they mess around and they slip, I use my physicality or my quickness to get by. They know it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Yeah. So they didn't come up and press me as much. But he was the guy that forced me. I'm like, man, I got to get better, because I can't only just get by with having some success against these other corners. Yeah. There are going to be other big corners in the league. They're going to look at him like, okay, he stopped T.O. Yeah. So let me see how he did it.
Wow.
So I had to prepare myself for any and every situation.
I love hearing this. The other thing about you as a player, then we'll move off this, but I want to say one thing is I think people underestimate how tough you were. First off, the best of ability is availability. You were available all the time. You were durable, like LeBron. It's one of the great things about LeBron James,
Nutrition.
Right? Nutrition. And
taking
Brady.
Care of your body.
Brady had the 1 year with his knee, but this dude plays football, right? Like, he's available. It's how you rack up these numbers, right, and help your football team bring value. You were tough, though. And so I'm a Patriot fan. So I just want to talk about this one situation. You know what I'm going to say, right? But
Super Bowl 39.
Super Bowl 39. So this man gets to the Super Bowl, and the truth is, a few weeks prior to that, he basically breaks his leg and has a screw in your leg. Is that not right?
Yeah, I had 2 screws in my ankle. I tore a lot of the ligaments in my ankle.
Okay.
Upon the diagnosis, once I got my MRI the following day, a lot of ligaments torn. I didn't know my leg was broken till I got an X-ray, because they MRI'd my whole leg, because I went to sleep that night and my leg was aching so bad. Not my ankle, like I iced it, but I was throbbing throughout the course of the night up by my knee.
Okay.
And so I told the radiologist, I'm like, it's like my leg was aching throughout the course of the night. He's like, all right, cool, we'll just X-ray the whole leg or whatever and see what's going on.
This is one of the most underreported stories, seriously, I think, in the history of the NFL, right? This man played in the Super Bowl. No one thought he was going to play. They weren't sure the game plan for it, but no one thought he was going to play. This man played with a recently broken leg in the Super Bowl. This is something that no one talks about. There was even a slight limp when you would watch him warm up, and then he early in the game, I'm watching the game, I go, oh God, Owens is going to kill us. The only reason, I'm not being negative about anybody, I want you to talk about playing with that injury, playing through some pain, because you had to be in some pain or some discomfort, or you weren't at your best. But I'll be honest with you, I watched that Super Bowl. If they'd have continued to get you that football in that game, there would have been a different result in that football game. I remember that last couple drives you had were taking forever. I'm like, thank God it's taking forever. They're not getting the ball to T.O. They literally, if they just kept feeding you the football, they could not cover you. You were like a man on a mission in that football. I'm not saying that because you're sitting here either. It's a standout moment for me in sports. I coach a lot of athletes. I know that you weren't at your best, and you came into, again, the greatest opportunity of your career was this Super Bowl to shine, and you shine. And had they won the football game, it would have been a legendary story people would tell forever because you played so hurt. So,
welcome back, everybody. My guest today played 12 years in the major leagues. Let me just tell you something. He could flat mash. This dude could hit. I used to watch him going, that's the natural. They should call him the natural. But then the more I got to know his story, turns out it wasn't natural, that he worked really hard to build this incredible swing, 3-time All-Star. And I'm just telling you guys, any of you that know baseball, this dude could flat out hit. But today we're going to talk about, you know, you got someone here that played in the big leagues and the major leagues that long. There's a mental aspect to what they did and how they live and what they do now that got them there. So we're going to talk about peak performance today and overcoming adversity, all kinds of incredible stuff with Sean Casey. Case, welcome to the show, brother.
Ed, thanks for having me on, dude. So fired up to be here, brother.
You came all the way in. You flew from Pennsylvania to be here today. So thank you for being here. I know you got a lot of family stuff going right now.
Dude, I just wanted to say too, like before we get going, like listening to your podcast, dude, like who's the guy, who's the voice of like, welcome to Ed Mylett? Who is that guy? The guy that does like, he introduces your show.
He used to do.
It's incredible.
Yeah, he used to do something for the NFL, and I heard his voice.
Oh,
this is way back in the day. It's so funny. 7 years ago, I told my team, I don't know who that dude is. I want that voice saying my name.
That's so great.
And what's funny about that thing is that even to this day, he still can't say Mylett correctly. It's welcome to the Ed Mylett show. He still doesn't even say my name right, but his voice is so good. I'm like, okay, he can just say he says my name wrong on my own show. But he says it with such a great voice. I'm like, let's just leave it. Every time he does the takes, I'm like, can you get him to say Mylett? And like, no, it's Mylett. Whatever. Anyway. So I want to go back to the beginning with you.
Yeah.
So Michael Jordan's got this amazing story that everyone throws around that, he ends up being the greatest of all time, but he didn't even, make his varsity team his sophomore year. There's this great story. And it's a great story. But the guy went to North Carolina, had a bunch of scholarship offers. You, on the other hand, when I say this guy could hit, I mean, I other big league baseball players envied your swing and just were, you're just a remarkable hitter and player. But in high school, we go back, like, you didn't really have any juice. No one wanted you. Out of high school, you couldn't even get a scholarship. You couldn't even get someone to look at you. I want you all to think about this that are listening. Wherever you are in your life right now, you're like, no one knows me. Nothing's happening. This dude couldn't even get someone to come scout him. Never mind even offer you money. No one even come look, right? Is that true?
No, I mean, it's funny. We were talking about, you're out in California. You got, hey, we had 9 dudes from our high school get drafted. I'm like, what? Like, I haven't seen 9 scouts in my life in Pittsburgh.
Incredible.
You know what I mean? It was incredible. Yeah. So, it's a great story. And as I look back, and I think we were talking earlier, like my dad's in a place right now where has gone through 2 open heart surgeries and all this stuff. So, even more like he and I have connected and we've kind of gone back down memory lane. And, it's funny when I look back at, growing up in Pittsburgh, like, I was one of the better players, probably 10, 11, 12. You know how that goes. Then you go to the bigger fields, 13, 14. And so I remember being 14 years old and I didn't play it all freshman year. And I'm like, man, why am I not playing at all?
Wait, you didn't play?
Like I played a little bit. I was like, hey, Casey, get in there and pinch hit. And I'm like, what? So didn't really play much, played a little bit here and there. And I remember like a few games into the year going to my dad and being like, hey, Dad, help me out here. You know what I mean? Like, you know how good I am. You saw me hitting bombs when I was 12, just crushing balls like 220 in a gap. You know what I mean? Like dominating, and I'm like, and I that I should be starting as a freshman, freshman baseball. And he's like, and I was like, do you think you could go talk to the coach? That'd be just help me out. Yeah. You know what I mean? We get your dad to kind of snowplow in there and hey.
A lot of guys do that.
Well, that's what I mean. Exactly. And I think back now as a dad, and I know you do too, Ed, is the conversations you have with your kid. Like, man, am I enabling my kids? I feel like you disable people when you enable them. Am I enabling my kids sometimes? Am I making it too easy? And do I say no enough to maybe sometimes for a lesson, right? And like, so when I look back at this conversation, had my dad gone and talked to the coach, we're not even talking.
Yeah, isn't that incredible?
We're not even talking.
So he says no.
So my dad says no. He's like, you know what, Sean? I'm not going to talk to the coach. He goes, one thing I will say is the kid that's playing ahead of you, I don't think he's better than you, but you're not glaringly better than him. Wow. You're not glaringly better than him. He goes, if you want to start playing, then you got to start taking accountability for who you are as a player and for who you are as, putting in the work. Wow. He goes, there's a batting cage that just opened up in the town next to us. He goes, I'll make you a deal. He goes, I'll buy you as many tokens as you want, as long as you hit every day. As soon as you stop hitting, the deal's off.
I love your dad.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I said, you know what? You got a deal, Dad. He goes, you got to start being accountable for who you are and putting in the work. And Ed, dude, I started falling in love. I went to the cages. I went to this batting cage. It was Grand Slam USA. And you remember Grand Slam when they first came out? And I look back like things you're grateful for. I literally, in my gratitude journal recently was like, I'm so grateful that that guy, Dick Thomas, decided to put a Grand Slam USA in the town next to me in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
You know, it's incredible when you think back at your life. You know what I mean? So I end up meeting a guy on Tuesday nights named Frank Porco. Never ever played college baseball, but he was a hitting instructor.
I wanted to ask you that. So this guy that helped you didn't even play college baseball?
Didn't play college baseball, just a high school, and he was making some money on the side. But Ed, talk about divine intervention. Yeah. This guy knew hitting. This guy knew hitting, and all the years I played in the big leagues and all the hitting coaches I've been around, I still feel like Frank Porco in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, was the best coach.
Wow.
So I would go to him every Tuesday night. My dad didn't make a lot of money. He was a chemical salesman, making like $33,000 a year, So I knew those tokens were a big deal.
Yeah.
I didn't take that for granted. I knew those tokens. I knew the deal was a big deal, right? So I would go every Tuesday night, hit with Frank Porco for 30 minutes, 5:30 to 6 o'clock, $20. It's a lot more now. It's not $20, but $20. And then I would just stay, man. And I became obsessed with the mechanics of a swing, all because I wanted to play JV baseball.
That's crazy.
All because I wanted to start my sophomore year, really, right? And it's just, when I look back and how you talk about just like the compound pounding, the marginal gains, like I could see myself getting like a little bit better every time. Like, oh man, my front shoulder's staying a little better. I'm really driving off my backside. So next year it comes along and my dad was right. He's like, man, this is going to work. So sophomore year I start JV. Right. And I'm like, wow, this is working. My dad's right. Like, it's that, and he was always telling me, you want to, and I was like, well, I want to play college baseball one day. And I was like, all right, preparation, meeting, opportunity. Like, be ashamed one day, Sean, if the opportunity came along and you weren't prepared. I'm like, and I kind of took that stuff to heart. It was just such great lessons. So my sophomore year, hitting every day still. I didn't play any other sports. I did play some football and basketball, but by my sophomore year, I was just playing baseball. But I hit every day after school. Next thing you know, I'm junior year, I'm starting varsity. And then senior year, I'm starting varsity. Now I'm a good hitter, though, Ed.
Yeah, now you
now
can break.
This works.
Yeah.
This doing stuff every day, like those invisible games, he really do work. And I was driving balls all over the park. So we get to my senior year, man, and kind of just a great lesson from my dad. He had just started a new company called Casey Chemical. He's been waiting to do it. He's 50 years old now. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna start it. It was he was like a middleman for for selling surfactant chemicals, right? Okay. And so I saw how much he grinded. I saw like the work ethic that he put in, and I could see now what he was talking about 3 years earlier. So. And we every month I'd come home from school and he would be, hey, time to send out the network marketing. Yeah. He's like, we got 5,000 letters, Shawnee. Get those lips ready because you're going to be licking those envelopes and sending them off. And we would send them out. He would say, hey, listen, if we get 3 or 4 people to come back, we got a sale. We're going to pay the bills. And that was like the kind of the thought process, right? So during my senior year, I had no college scholarship offers, not Division I, Division II, Division III, right? Just like they weren't there. And remember back in high school, you'd go to those tryouts where the big league teams would come and then you'd run the 60, and that's why you're getting drafted. He was like, this Mylett can fly. You know what I mean? They're like, this Casey, like, does he have a disease we don't know about? Guy looks like he's ice skating quicksand. You know what I mean? They're like, so I'd run the 60, 7.4, 7.5. I'd come back, Eddie, after the trial. I'm like, oh yeah, when are we gonna hit? And they're like, all right, these guys are coming back for day 2. Yeah. And they'd go down the list. They'd be like, and I'm like, Casey, I think you left off Sean Casey. Like, no, you're not on the list. 7.45. We'll see you next time. Go to the Royals tryout next week. I'm like, so dude, it was like so frustrating because I'm like, is this a track tryout or are we gonna hit? We're not gonna hit, I guess, right? Baseball. So my dad at that point, I was getting not many looks. And my dad said, you know what, Sean? I sat down with him. I said, Dad, I really want to play college baseball, but no one's coming. And he goes, no one is going to come. He goes, no one's coming, Sean. He says, you want to go play college baseball? You got to start playing offense, not defense, and quit waiting for somebody to come. He's like, how about tomorrow? You come home from school, you come out to my office, Casey Chemical. You sit down with me. We're going to write 30 letters. You're going to write the 30 schools that you want to go to. Division 2, Division 3, wherever you want. So I come home from school that day. I'm kind of fired up.
Yeah.
I got a game plan. I sit down with my dad. He goes, here we go. So bam, I write the first one to Penn State, next one to Clemson. Then I'm writing to College of Worcester, Mary. I'm writing whoever will listen.
Yep.
I just opened my mind. I'm like, I'm going to play in the big leagues one day, but I got to get to a college first.
Why did your face change when you started to talk about your dad writing the letter? I'm just curious, like your face changed a little bit.
You know what? Because it fires me up. I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. You know, it just, you know, I'm 48 now. So you're grateful for those. You're grateful when you look back when you're 18 years old, 17 years old, and you know, you got a dad that's willing to stand next to you when you're grinding. Yeah. You know what I mean? That when it's when it's not, when everyone tells you you're too slow, you're this and that, you got the guy next to you say, you can do it. Yeah. Why not you? Yeah. You know,
I told you the truth too, right? Like, hey, no one's coming.
Hey, bro, no one's coming. And you know what? And I think that's the reality of it. Yeah. That was the reality of it. Like, and I was like, when you fight with reality, you only lose 100%. I'm like, they're not. Yeah. He's like, so we sit down and write these 30. It's
amazing. I just got to tell you, like, you're getting me. Like, I don't know why my eyes are watering, but like, I know that was like, you're not here if you don't write those letters. You're not. I know they're going to hear it in a minute, but like, you're not here if your dad doesn't stand by you. You're not here if. Yeah. You don't play offense. He doesn't tell you, no one's coming, Shawnee. No one's coming. No one's coming. It's just amazing how moments in life can define us, right?
That's what I mean. Like, even with my kids, I'm like, God, I hope I'm saying the right
Me
stuff.
Too.
Dude,
Me
don't
too.
you feel that way?
Yes,
Like,
yes.
I hope I'm giving the right lessons. I hope I'm not just snow plowing, the road for them and making sure everything's smooth. You know what I mean? Because the adversity that I had was that's where I got my advantages, right? So
you write the letters.
So I write the letters, dude. Write 30 letters. Right before I'm done, I get up to go. He goes, hey, sit back down. He goes, got one more letter. He goes, University of Richmond sent you a flyer. I'm like, a flyer. Now it's like social media. These kids are like, hey, look at my swing. Check me out. Look, I got millions of followers. Yeah. They're like, hey, University of Richmond sent you a flyer last year from the Keystone State Games. Why don't you send them one too? So bam, last letter, University of Richmond. Dear University of Richmond, thanks for the flyer.
Yeah. Right.
I really think I can play there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. So bam, season goes on, dude. And I'm still hitting every day after school, and I'm having a great year. We end up winning the championship that year at my school, Upper St. Clair. But with 4 games to go, brother. And it's incredible how this works. First at bat, I remember we're playing this team called Montour. I get a pitch middle away, bam, rocket left center. I'm like, let's go. A couple ribbies, Next pitch, get a pitch middle and bam, right center. So I'm 4 for 4, 8 RBIs, and 4 doubles. And bro, like you could probably look back at your high school career, college career, and the games.
Yeah.
There's a handful of them where you're like,
absolutely.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That was my greatest high school game ever.
Yeah.
Hands down, no doubt about it, 100%. So Jerry Malarkey, who's the coach at Upper St. Clair, I'm running out to play first for the 7th inning. We're dominating his team. He's like, hey, Case. He's like, man, you've had a heck of a game. He goes, how many hits you got? I go, 4 hits, man. He goes, how many ribbies? I got 8 ribbies, Jerry. He goes, yeah, you know what? That's great. He goes, see the guy behind the backstop right there? That's Mark McQueen. Just drove 6 hours from the University of Richmond to come see you play. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, he wants to talk to you after the game.
Oh, my gosh.
So after the game, I went over.
Preparation meeting opportunity, right?
Preparation meeting opportunity. And I remember thinking to my dad, like, Dad, what's this preparation meeting opportunity stuff? Are you BSing here? Because I don't see any opportunities, right? But he's like, he was always adamant, one's going to come. One's going to show up, And I went over to Mark McQueen, shook his hand. He said, hey, man, he's like, really like your swing. He goes, let me get back to you tomorrow. So he went back to Coach Atkins back in Richmond, called me, offered me a $1,000 scholarship. And I think at the time Richmond was like 30 grand. My dad made 33 grand. I was like, Dad, what are we going to do? He's like, we'll figure it out. We'll take a second mortgage on the house. We'll get some financial aid. So I went to University of Richmond, brother, on the only offer that I had from those letters that I sent out, because playing offense and not defense, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, incredible. I go to University of Richmond.
Are you all hearing this? Just so you know, the end of the story is this man plays 12 years in the major leagues, is one of the greatest hitters over a decade in the major leagues, multiple all-star teams. This dude got no looks. No look. If you feel like you're missing are you hearing this? He gets $1,000, and all due respect to University of Richmond, all due respect. But this is not like Arizona State either, right?
Dude, it's a mid-major.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. This
like,
isn't like big time.
It's incredible. Go ahead. It's incredible.
Incredible. So I go to University of Richmond. hadn't even seen the school. Show up first day with my buddy Jay Adams. Hey, man. Hey, nice campus. You're taking 45 visits. Or like, hey, Ed Mylett, let's get him to be. This guy's going to be leading off for us for 3 years. We got boom, 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 Pac-10, SEC. I'm like, hey, great campus.
Yeah, and I'm interviewing you now, just so you know. And you're the one who played 12 years in the big leagues, so it all works out okay.
How life works
You're
out.
on my show talking about your big league career.
Isn't that incredible?
It's incredible.
It's incredible how life works out. It's so true. So I go to University of Richmond, bro. I end up starting my freshman year, have a good freshman year, freshman All-American. Like, in that but I'm still developing as a player. My sophomore year, I do well, and I go to the Cape Cod League. Mm-hmm. And you obviously know that's your ticket. If you can get to the Cape, and that year Todd Helton was there, Darren Erstad was there, Mike Lowell, some good players, right? Have a really good summer, hit like 340 with the wood bat, almost, lead league in RBIs. And the only reason I say that is because it's the part of the story. I go back my junior year, and I hit 461, and I led Division I NCAA baseball in batting. 461, incredible. So I think back to 3 years earlier, or 6 years, 7 years earlier, I'm asking my dad to go talk to the freshman high school coach because I'm not playing. And he just gives me the lesson of, you got to work harder. You got to put the time in. You got to start being accountable for what you do. Set new routines. What are your habits after school? All that stuff. And then for me, it started to develop. Like, I look back and like, 7 years later, gosh, with like you talk about the compound pounding, that pinata effect of the invisible games, all that stuff. 7 years later, in the NCAA Division I champion.
That is freaking incredible.
And I become a second-round pick of the Cleveland Indians.
Going back to earlier in your life, your athletic career. So we have that in common, right? At college sports, and your athletic career, I can tell. Looking at you, just jacked and still in amazing shape. But your career was cut short by an injury. Can you share more about what athletics meant to you and then how you felt when it got cut short based on getting hurt?
Yeah, athletics for me was the only place, man, where I felt any confidence. When you're raised with anxiety or, dysfunction in your family, dysfunction could be they didn't love you and didn't tell you they loved you enough. They didn't give you enough water, fighting, divorce, bankruptcy. One version of child neglect is a parent not chasing their dream. It's a form of neglect. It's an insidious one that most people don't appreciate. But a parent not living their full potential installs that software in that child. That's a form of neglect if you're a parent. And so when my career ended, it probably ended something that would have ended anyway. Quite frankly, it's a hidden blessing. But at the time, it was devastating because it was my only dream. And it ended. And I was really lost for quite a long time, sort of flailing away, trying to find who I was. Because the mistake I made, this is true for a lot of executives listening to this too, I had linked my identity to what I did. My identity was what I did or what I accomplished or what I had. It's a very dangerous way to live because that stuff changes and sometimes it goes away. And now I learned my identity is who I am as a man, the decisions I make, the way I live my life, the way I treat other people. And I'll never again allow, and I'm, become a pretty wealthy guy and got jets and houses and islands and all this stuff, but I'll never allow my identity to be tied to things I do because that's fleeting. And I know many, many people have climbed the corporate ladder. They finally get that position. They finally get that influence. They're like, wow, I thought I'd feel differently. I thought it would be more. I thought it would be better. And that's because their identity is tied to what they do. And that's a shallow way to live your life. And that's something I had to learn in that moment when my identity disappeared, which was baseball.
Now, if you fast forward and see that you've gained immense wealth, like you said, the planes, the cars, the houses, the islands, you got the Richard Branson type stuff going on. But even I noticed, I think, as you know this as a podcast host, you learn a lot in the first few seconds when you meet somebody prior to pressing record. And sometimes people flip a switch and kind of go into character once you hit record. You have been the same guy from the second we started. And one thing I noticed too is an immense amount of humility, which I'm not going to lie, I was pleasantly surprised, Ed, because you could have easily not have that based on all of the other stuff that you've accomplished. How do you think about that? I'm curious of humility in the role of not just like fake humility, which we all have seen some. I'm talking genuine, real. Hey man, it's good to get to know you. I've listened to your show. Like you can tell, like this is real, and that to me is like a really a key Cog, when I think about your future, it's like, how does it not continue to go like this when you have this humility about you?
Thank you. By the way, great question. It's one of the most important things in my life with people I want around me is humility. Well, one, I'm a faith-based person, so I don't think that everything that's happened in my life is just me. That does not mean I haven't busted my tail, but I know there's an element of blessing. Quite frankly, there's been a little luck too, right? I've made my own luck, but there's a little bit of luck. The second thing is I know how, fragile it is. It could go away. And so I don't really catch up too much in that stuff. But the big thing is this. The people that I like the most, like I try to surround myself with, also have a ton of self-confidence, by the way. I think there's a nuance. I want people that nuance this line, and it's not an easy way to live. I mean, it's difficult to find this balance. Tremendous self-confidence with humility. Because we all know really self-confident people that don't have any humility. What happens? They're not curious. They don't grow. They usually finally flame out and make mistakes because they believe their own press clippings, right? Then we also have friends that are really, really humble with no self-confidence, and you're dragging their butt through life all the time, right? Come on, man, we can do this. You're not a victim. So I try to have a lot of self-confidence with a degree of humility. And most of the people I surround myself with have that as well. I like curious people. I want to grow. What a ridiculous way to live, to not be curious, to not want to learn. Like people go, why do you even do your show? It's not a financial win for me, right? I love people. I love learning from people. I'm watching your level of preparation. I'm like, all right, I got to up my game a little bit. How does he know about these index cards with my dad? Like, that's not a very public thing. So I'm always trying to grow. I get in an Uber. You can ask my wife. People's like, oh, do you always have limo drivers? No, I take a lot of Ubers. Why? I want to meet real people, man. And automatically everyone will tell you, if I have a server in a restaurant, tell me your story. What's your story? I had a guy drive me yesterday really quick. Guy's from Lebanon, right? Driving. He's got a kid at Harvard, a kid at Yale, and a kid at Stanford. He's driving an Uber to put him through school. And I'm like, tell me about your family. How'd they get there? Well, education's important. Tell me about Lebanon. I didn't want to get out of the car. It was like a 20-minute ride. I'm like, I'm like extending the drive. I wanted to learn more about this man. What a fascinating man. You get into the ask guys probably making him two kids at an Ivy League and another one at Stanford. What a remarkable man. And I'm like, tell me about your wife. You must have an amazing wife to have these 3 kids. And he's lighting up about his wife. We met when we were 14. I said, oh man, I met my wife in kindergarten. We started dating when I was 14. That's the juice of life, is to have humility. It's where you learn and you reach people.